Welcome to Heart of the Haven, an education series about domestic and family violence. I'm your host, Samantha Anderson, and today I'm speaking with Sam Campbell, Executive Officer, Client Services from the Haven Nepean Women's Shelter. Sam brings over 10 years' experience working in the domestic and family violence sector, specialising in working with women and children. Together, we'll take you to the heart of change and talk about how important activism is within domestic and family violence. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you.
Now, later this month, we have the 16 Days of Activism Against Gendered Violence Towards Women. So I would love to know a little bit more about what that 16 Days of Activism means to staff and clients at the Haven.
It's really, really important at the Haven that we are part of activism. Whilst we provide crisis accommodation and domestic and family violence support as our core service, activism is about communicating safety needs to the wider community through different activities and events. Activism is really important because it amplifies the voices and experiences of our clients, and in particular identifying what they need from our government, from services like us, from our communities. It gives them a platform to be able to communicate their needs and also elevate their voice.
Okay. What do clients get involved, or is it predominantly a staff thing?
So no, it's everyone at the Haven. So staff, students, volunteers, clients, the board. We have people of all ages join in, and it really is an important part for all aspects of the Haven. So some of the experiences that we have in shelter or in service is our house meetings and our different wellness programs and kids programs. We'll design age-appropriate activities to discuss things like social change, what the elimination of gendered violence might look like for them, and ways in which they can be involved and have a voice in that. A really clear example that comes to mind is a couple of years ago when we worked with a group of young people. So we had some 16 and 17-year-olds get together. They were a little bit frustrated and angry about their circumstances. They'd all experienced domestic violence by a father or stepfather, and they were frustrated that at that age, 16 and 17, that they couldn't do more, that they had an element of feeling a little bit powerless. And so the youth worker and I talked with them about, well, what would you do? If you could do anything, if you could have a huge platform, what would that look like for you? And they said, we want to march in the streets. So I said, okay, great, let's do it. But to march, we need a banner. And so together we created with the art therapy student a banner. And you can probably have a look at our socials and find what that looks like. But they designed the banner, they painted the banner, we sewed it together, and we take that on walks for Reclaim the Night, the 16 Days of Activism, International Women's Day, and we literally take their voice and amplify it in the streets. Now that was a real client-led initiative. They were the ones that wanted to do that. It speaks to my activist heart, so I loved being part of that. But the next layer we then did was take that banner not only to the community in marches, but to community conferences and events. So the Aboriginal Women's Wellness Conference, I took along that banner and got people to write messages of hope for our clients. That then hangs in one of our services, and clients get to see it every day as they move through the service. And so what we've done through that initial piece of activism that's quite outward facing and client led was it now is a reminder to our community and an involvement piece for them. It's a reminder for our staff and other clients coming through every day that activism and amplifying clients' voice and their safety needs is a really important and pivotal part of what we do.
Definitely. I can imagine activism is different for everyone, particularly during their healing journey. Why do you think that's an important part of the client's journey, especially towards their own empowerment?
Yeah, so it really is a healing factor for them. For a lot of our clients, as they move through their own experience of crisis and they build safety, majority of the clients that we work with that are teenagers or adults say, how do I help the next person? Or how do I stop this for the next person? I don't want my experience to just sit with me. I want to be able to do something or say something. And so we encourage clients that express that need to us, different ways that they might be able to support. So it might be a message for another woman that might be coming into the room or unit after them. That writing about hope is still a form of activism, because it's communicating from one person to the next, that I got through this process and I now feel empowered, and that can be the experience for you as well. Some people will write online blogs or journal articles. Some people will get involved with different community events that we're running and come and help us at those stalls or walk the marches with us. We had a family that included a teenage boy walk with us at a Reclaim the Night march a few years ago. And what I saw was the power for him in healing from an experience of feeling like he didn't have much control or much say. He was in primary school, to being able to have his voice, probably the loudest I'd say in that march. Although it was healing for him, what I noticed in particular was his mum. His mum got to see not only the impact of domestic violence on her children, but the growth and healing, and that added some healing for her too. For us, we thought that was a real jumping off point for that family to be able to go and do some family counselling work and start to heal together as a family. So activism is such a catalyst no matter what the age of a person, and whether they want it to be a little bit quieter and just person to person, whether they want it to be an online form, whether they want to march in the streets for it. We really try and tailor those approaches to where clients feel safe and comfortable to be able to do that activism work if it's something that they want to do.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be very personal in terms of where they're at in their journey as well, and what that type of activism looks like.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, really great that you guys can work with them on that aspect too. So just in terms of how can community sort of get involved with the 16 days of activism?
Yeah, so our local council in Penrith does lead a walk during the 16 days of activism. It's usually at the start, which is the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Children, and it's usually on or around that day, and that is a whole community march and walk. There's a few different education elements and components that go to that. We've walked in that event, our clients have walked in that event, and a lot of our local schools actually walk in that event. So some of the walk the talk schools that we engage with will get a big group of students and their own banner or their school uniforms or school shirts, and they'll walk to show their support and the contribution that they're trying to make to eliminate violence as well. The other important element is for our staff. So for our staff, they're often working with systemic barriers in trying to access supports for clients. And so being part of a community of social change and activism is a really important part of their role as well. So they're not just challenging those barriers one at a time, they're starting to have a bigger presence. So anytime community shows up to one of our events, that's part of the activism work that we do. Anytime they show up to a more general community event, say NAIDOC Week, not only the 16 days of activism, might be International Women's Day. Anytime they show up to an event like that, what they're doing is telling our staff and our clients that we're banding with you to create some social change. What that activism piece does for community is it's a conduit for communication. So they can hear firsthand what are some of the things that need to change, what are some of the things we're already doing, and then where can you get involved in those points. So I'd say it's probably the biggest catalyst for communication that we find. Have a look at our socials. You find when it comes to the 16 days of activism, what we're going to be being a part of, and also pay attention to the local council. They do a lot of really great initiatives and work around safety and activism during that time that any community member can jump on board and do. You can also choose to do an event in your own school or workplace. Reach out to us if you want any kind of support or help around that. You could combine it with a fundraiser for us at the same time if you want to. But we're really open to making this a wider community experience of activism rather than just a singular event.
Now, I can imagine there'd be a lot of people who might have had lived experience who get on board, and it's an easy decision for them to be part of that activism. What about community members who don't have lived experience? What would you say to them? Why is it important that they get involved?
Yeah, so the term stand up, speak out often comes through in a lot of different activism campaigns, but showing up is really, really important. So when we have a march in the Nepean community around the elimination of gendered violence and 10 people show up, that's very different to 2,000 people showing up. And what it does is it sends a message to every single person either currently going through it or with previous lived experience that, hey, we've got you. We're there with you. So it's a very simple thing to go for a lovely stroll in the Nepean River as a way of showing up for the community. And it's a way that you don't necessarily have to disclose yourself or talk too much or engage. So it's a really gentle way to actually be involved in advocating for social change in this space. And I think anyone who comes along often has a little bit more of an eye-opening experience. So my family has come along to this before. Despite living with me for a long time, even they get some new experiences and understanding out of walks and different activism events that we go to. So I'd encourage anybody that's feeling like they want to perhaps learn a little bit more, or they want to show up and they're not sure how to show up, that something like the 16 days of activism and a walk in our community is a really, really good place to start.
Thank you so much for your time, Sam.
You're welcome.
If you or someone else you know needs support, please visit our website, www.thehaven.org.au. On the Contact Us page is a list of services that you can reach out to, including the Haven itself. Thank you for watching Heart of the Haven.